Hey kids, it's PJ. Coming to you from Cross Point in Fishers, Indiana. It's kind of our home base of operations from all the astronauts. It's where we got our start. It's where we play a lot. It's where I'm on staff as the worship pastor. So I wanted to do a quick rig rundown on the stuff that I'm using right now. Thought it might be something you would enjoy, so check it out. All right, so here we go. This is where we're gonna start, is back here at the rack unit and kind of the brain of the entire operation. If it weren't for any of this stuff back here, I would have a very hard time getting anything done. So, of course, the trusty MacBook Pro here running Ableton. We'll do a rundown on this and how we run it another time, but just so you know, this is how we run stuff at Crosspoint and for all the astronauts when we're out. Then we go here. First thing is, of course, we've got power. I'm just using a Furman power conditioner there. It's great. Can't complain about it at all. Turns things on, turns things off. That's what you need it to do. Then down here, we've got the Shure PSM 300 in-ear wireless monitor mix. So the way this guy goes is I just plug it in directly out of the back of it into the P16 up here, and then I am completely wireless but have control of my whole unit here right there on the stage. Then, because I'm really not that great of a singer, I use this TC Helicon Voice Live rack unit for all of my different effects. You can see what are just pre-programmed right there. There are literally hundreds of banks and presets in this whole thing, so check it out. By the way, this is my favorite patch on there, the Kanye Lockdown, because who doesn't love some Kanye? Then moving down, this is a new piece here that we've just added in over the last couple of weeks. I recently started rack mounting my pedals instead of having them on my pedal board, and I'm using a MIDI foot controller. What I am using is the Voodoo Labs GCX and Ground Control Pro switching system that controls everything here. So guitar input goes in here or in the back the way I have it run. This shows that it's active with the board, and then anytime I step on one of the buttons, turning on one of the pedals in the loops, it turns on here. So I can actually turn around real quick and make sure that everything's working the right way. Then I've got everything rack mounted in drawers here. So this is my first drawer. Chain starts with the Line 6 Relay G70. I love the presets. You can set different levels for different guitars and run multiple transmitter units with it, which is great. So that goes from there then into the GCX system right up here. And then everything here then comes through different loops is the way this works. First off, what I go for is this FET preamp here from Valiton. It's the FP10. It's based off of the old 1980s Boss, I think it was the FA1 is what it's based off of. It is just a preamp pedal, so I basically leave it on all the time. First drive then in the chain is the Fox pedal Kingdom pedal. It has a lion on it, which makes it even more rad. It's a white pedal. It's cool, but it's got these toggle switches that do some extra functions to it, so it becomes a really versatile overdrive pedal. Out of that, then I go to my favorite overdrive pedal. This is the Holy Dove overdrive from Mercy Seat Effects in Germany. Go check out Austin's stuff, he's awesome. This is my main overdrive. If you listen to the Light the Night record, this drive is on every song on that record, except Shifted, because there's no electric guitar in Shifted. Then out of that, then I jump up to the Exotic Effects EP Boost. It is the best boost pedal I have ever used. So those are loops 1 through 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Loop number 5 then comes down to my Line 6 M5. Mostly I use this for the Univibe setting, but I can also use this for a wah or pitch shifter or any of those kinds of things that you can think of. Tremolo on there is pretty great. It does have a tap tempo, which is nice. This will take program changes from Ableton, so if I want Univibe on one song and then I want tremolo on another song, it'll just auto jump to it. Down on the second drawer of the rack is my second delay pedal. Actually, the first one is up on the board. I'll show you those in a minute. This is the SDD 3000 from Korg. It's rad. It's based off of the SDD 3000 rack mount unit from the 80s. This will take program changes from Ableton as well, so I have it plugged in MIDI in the back, and it just gets everything from there, and then I control the on-off from the pedal board. Then when I'm running acoustic, I run this Fishman Aura DI. It adds some of that natural wood tone that you lose with piezo pickups. So that's why I run this. That actually runs out of the last channel of the loop that also is an AB. Just so you know, out of Ableton, I'm running the Focusrite Scarlett 18i20 Generation 2. That takes all the channels from the computer, separates them out, and then I run them all into these right here. This is just a Behringer 8-channel Ultra DI Pro that separates it out into 8 different channels for click and cue, and then different things in the tracks that we want, that the sound engineers all want individual control of too. Now I'll take you over to the amp, and this is my AC30 and my coffee. Don't do that, people. It's not a good idea to leave your coffee on top of your amp, but this is my AC30. It's the AC30 C2X. It had Vox Celestion Blues in it, and I have upgraded one of them to a nicer Celestion Blue, and then I have upgraded the other speaker to the Warehouse Guitars Reaper. Really versatile with that combination of speakers in here. You can see my settings here. This is how I run it. By the way, gaff tape and a marker makes for easy settings to make sure they get back to the right place. To connect the amp to all of the rack mount gear, I use this Radial SGI system that basically it's 2 little direct boxes that do certain things, one for the output, one for the input, but then you can connect them with an XLR and run them up to 300 feet with no signal loss. So that's a really great thing if you're playing on a bigger stage or if you need to put your amp in an ISO cab. So that's the back line, if you will, and then the live stuff all happens up here. So this is all relatively new. As a setup, my pedal board used to look like this, and now it looks like this. So the way this all works here is everything is starting back at the rack with the wireless, and then we go through all the drive sections that are controlled here with the Ground Control Pro. This is my just kind of base setting here at number 1. It's clean, it's just got that FET preamp on. Then you can see I've got it labeled with gaff tape and a marker as to what everything is doing in those different instant access buttons. This is fun though. That's my acoustic setting, get it? Ground Control 2 Major Tom. If you don't get it, go look it up. Everything starts back at the rack, runs through the first 4, then I'm running 4-cable method just for input here on the side of my board, inputs and outputs over here. So I go through everything back at the rack, then I come back up here and I work through here. So I've got a Micropog here from Electro Harmonics that I had modded by This One's Mine. What it does is it has 2 different settings that you can have happen at the same time. I have named them Dan and Dave. Dan Arbach, Dave Evans, look them up. Good guitarists that use a Pog setting similar to these 2 functions. So I go from there into my first volume pedal that is an Electro Harmonics VP Junior that I had modded by Mercy Seat Effects to have a buffer put into it so that I didn't have any signal loss jumping up to my tuner for the Polytune 2. Anytime you use a volume pedal with a tuner out, you have what's called tone suck if you use that tuner out because it's splitting your signal. Putting a buffer inside keeps your signal strength going through the rest of your thing. So from there, then I go to the Electro Harmonics Freeze pedal. It's an infinite sustain pedal is the way I use it. So I could, be playing a song and hit a chord and click that button and it stays on then forever. So from there, then I go back to the rack and that's where I pick up into loop 5 with the M5 like I showed you back there. From loop 5, I come back to the pedal board with cable 3. That takes me into the TC Electronic Flashback Triple Delay. It's a great delay. It's 3 independent delays. You can run them in serial or parallel. I run this in MIDI out of Ableton as well because the tap will sync up for all 3 if you run it in MIDI. If you don't, then this tap button only works on delay 1, 2, or 3 as selected by this toggle switch right here. So if I run it MIDI out of Ableton, it gets the signal, the tempo for all 3 channels. They all sync up real nice and neat, and it's perfect. From there, then I go over here to the Boss reverb pedal, the RV6. It's spectacular as well. I use the shimmer setting on this one, for the most part doing ambient and underscore work. A lot of the undertones of like the stringy synthy sounds in the record are actually coming from this pedal here, with that shimmer, some long delays here, a really long tape delay on the Korg back in the rack. And then I come out of this into a spring reverb from Mercy Seed Effects called the Consider the Raven Flock Edition reverb. This flock switch here has a little bit of shimmer to it as well, but it's a spring reverb that I run pretty heavy so that it gets kind of that big hall reverb sound. Then out of that, I go back to my second Ernie Ball VP Junior, that's my master volume. Then from there with cable 4, I go back to the rack to the last couple pieces in there that then send it to the amp. So that's how that all works. Then coming up here, I just found this guy online on Amazon. It's called the Bright Switch. It's 2 USB ports. One of them controls a little light right here. So you can see that green light means that the light is on. If I step on it, then it turns off. Pretty great. Also charges an iPad or a phone or something like that. This guy here, the Looptimus from Loop Community, is what I use to trigger everything in Ableton. So when I start a track here, that's what triggers tempos here, triggers program changes for the Korg and for the M5. Looptimus is great. Can run off of a MIDI cable. If it runs MIDI, it has to be plugged into power. So I usually run it USB. And it's literally plug and play with Ableton, which is perfect. And then of course, everybody has to have an Altoids tin with picks. What I use most of the time are the Snarling Dog Brain picks. I have 3 different weights usually in here based on what I'm playing. So I have the 88s that I usually use on acoustic. I have 1.14s, the orange ones, that I usually use if I jump over and play any bass. And then I have the gray ones that are 1 mils that are my standard go-to for electric guitar. Most of the time I play off the back rounded edge, so similar to the way that Robbie plays the Jazz 3s, it makes it a smaller pick. But I like the little grippy edge right here. And so it gets this like real grady sound when you pick across the string with it. It just gets a real nice raspy sound to it that I really like out of my electric guitar. It's always good to have a USB just in case, just a thumb drive. Keep that around. Then over here, this is the Switch 3 for the TC Electronic Voice Live rack unit, controlling my vocal effects, doubler, delay, also gets tempo from Ableton. And then this is just an on-off bypass. So if I'm gonna do a talk set, I'll just kill it so I don't have any effects going there. Then over here, I also have the AirTurn BT105 Bluetooth page turner for my iPad that I usually have on stage because I forget things a lot. And so the FS5Us, 2 of those, they're not powered, so they just plug in 1/4 inch and you're good to go. That's the deal with that. Pedal board, everything's here. If you guys have any questions, comment on the video or shoot an email to info@alltheastronauts.com. I'd love to talk gear with you. As you can tell, I'm a storyteller, so this video is gonna be long, or was long, I guess, unless you fast forwarded to the end. Go light the night. We'll see you soon.